Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in again. Today I want to talk about something that is just totally critical to successful fishing in the Sound for Cutties. I want to talk about our casting angle and managing our casting angle to be able to maintain line control, among other things, throughout the retrieve. So let's get into this. I do want to encourage you, this sounds funny, to pay attention to this because I'm giving you pearls. And this is one of the most important things that you can bring into your game when it comes to catching cutties. Let's just draw this out. Okay. So we got a shoreline up here. Everything's, yeah, you guys can see this. You got the shoreline. Now let's put a dude here. That circle is just going to represent for us an angler. And these lines aren't perfect, but let's put some planes in here. Okay. Relative to the angler, we have some degrees. We've got 0 degrees, we've got 180 degrees, and we've got 90 degrees. So relative to the angler, this is 90 degrees from him to the shore because he's facing the shore. Off to his left, straight over, 180. Directly off to his right, 0. Now, the boat here, bear with me with the boat drawing. The boat here is moving forward as it should be. When you're cutty fishing, you need to keep your boat moving. How fast should the boat be moving? The boat should be moving about 1 foot per second, or about 1/3 of a meter per second. I guess we could just put 0.3. It's less confusing. Or about 0.7 mph. You want to move about 1 foot a second, or 1/3 of a meter a second, or 0.7 mph. That is the ideal speed for fishing for cutties. Okay, let me just get rid of this here. As we're moving the boat along and we're casting into shore, we've already established this, but when I'm fishing the shoreline, I want to get the fly, wherever I'm putting it, I want to put it on the shoreline. Not out here, but I want to put it as close to the shoreline as I can. So let's put scenario number 1. Let's say the angler makes his cast at an acute angle, meaning any angle that's less than 90 degrees from the beach. He's casting ahead of the angler. He's casting ahead of himself at an acute angle. You guys can't read any of that. You want to be moving, let me fix this, at about 1 foot per second, or 0.3 meters per second, or 0.7 mph. That's still not great, but you know what it means. Deal with it. Okay, so let me put this back away here. In scenario number 1, I'm going to make a cast from here at an acute angle ahead of myself. Whatever. Now, as I said, the boat's moving forward. It should be moving forward about 1 foot a second. So let's say that's 1 second, 2. 1 second, 3, roughly. 1 second, 4. 1 second, 6. Maybe that should be spread out a little bit more. It's fine. Each one of these dots represents 2 seconds further into my cast, or into my retrieve, rather. So, my cast immediately, my line straight, good. 2 seconds in, my line's changed shape and the fly's out here. 4 seconds in, my line has this shape and the fly's out here. What is this? 2, 4, 6 seconds in. Probably a little bit more. The fly is here. Okay. At 6 seconds in, something's changed. Now the angler is ahead of his retrieve. He's ahead of the fly. So that at 8 seconds in, looks like this. Only at 8 seconds in, when I have this straight line connection here and it's peeled off, is the fly actually going to start moving in the same direction that I'm moving. This whole time it's out here, like in the fishing zone, the fly is actually going back to in the direction that it was cast. And I can't change that as the angler because I'm not ahead of it. I'm moving forward. I'm moving towards it. Even though I cast it back here, I'm moving this way and my fly is going to be going that way. As long as my fly is moving in a direction that I'm not, I am not in control of that fly. I can have some limited influence, but I'm not in control of the line and I'm not in control of the fly. After 2 seconds, I'm in control of this much line, just this. 4 seconds, I'm in control of that much line. 6, I'm in control of all this. 8, I'm in control of the whole thing. Unfortunately, you'll notice at 8 seconds, not only am I really far off the shoreline, I'm not even close to the kitchen anymore. Look at this. The distance from there to there is quite a bit shorter than the distance from there to there. So in closing the distance from my original casting point to my final retrieval spot, I'm closing the distance. I'm actually shortening my presentation. Every second I'm going toward the place I cast my fly. Furthermore, there is not uniform tension in the line. The line's under a lot of tension here, but the water being still and me going through it is going to create unequal tension, so that this is under a lot of tension and a lot of influence. This is under less tension because it's going in the opposite direction that I am. And it's not until it makes a sharp turn, and then that point it's going to be under the same amount of tension. Let's say that I'm cast out here and the fish immediately eats it, like before I get even 2 seconds in. Well, what have I done? I've actually put slack into my fly line by approaching the cast. I cast it back here, but now I'm here. I'm closer to it than I was. As I'm stripping it, most of what I'm doing is stripping the slack out that I'm putting in by approaching the fly. I don't have tension with it. I'm not in control of it. I have very little influence on what it's doing. And this cushion created here by these sharp angles up here prevents me from piercing the fish when I set the hook. I don't have a straight line connection to it, so that when I pierce the fly, the first thing when I try to set the hook, what the line wants to do is, now that there's tension on the distal end and tension on the proximal end, the line wants to straighten before it applies tension. You want a straight line to get that tension to pierce the fly. So prior to it being straight, the fish just feels very minimal pressure, not enough to actually go into his mouth or pierce his flesh. It's very easy for him to spit the hook. Is the angler gonna hook fish when he casts at an acute angle? Probably likely. He's not gonna know it, and if he knows it, he's not gonna be able to get the line tight enough to set the hook in the amount of time it takes the fish to spit the fly. Okay, that's one scenario. This is what it looks like when you cast at an acute angle. The longer you retrieve it, the more bow you put in your line, the more cushion you put in there. And it's not until you're 8, 10, 12, depending on how far you cast it, but it's not until a long time into the cast, however long, it's not until the fly turns, comes off its original line, and starts to go with you, are you actually in control of the line and have a high degree of influence on the line. And you're frankly not directly connected to your fly. You just don't have the connection. I'm just going to come out and say it. Do not make acute casts when fishing from a boat for coastal cutthroat trout. To say it in a more simple way, do not cast ahead of yourself. It is wrong. It is the wrong technique. It is poor line control. It's poor fishing. Do not cast ahead of yourself when the boat is moving faster than the water. If you have fished with me, you've heard this, positively and maybe negatively. Don't do that. Okay, well, let's say scenario 2. Cast the line straight in. That's not even close to straight in. Okay, roughly straight in. Now let's put these dots back here, all these dots. Well, my first cast is there. The first second, my cast is here. It's straight. I get that's obvious. Well, here, it's gonna want to stay on that same line. That's pretty straight. You're gonna get some curve here. Oh, sorry, that kind of ended there. Then this one only comes out here. That may be a little too close. This one is gonna start pulling it off its original line. This one's way off its original line. Okay? Every single one of these points is pretty straight. This is maybe a little too straight. It wouldn't look that straight in real life because the water is providing some cushion. Look at that though. Much, much straighter. If a fish hits the fly anywhere on this retrieve, I'm gonna feel it. A 90-degree angle, a cast that's straight in, not only is it the most likely to reach the shore because it's the shortest distance from the boat, or let's just say the angler, to the shore, right? It's the shortest distance there, so it's the easiest to make the cast, but it also allows the angler to pull the fly along as the boat goes along and to pretty soon get it going in the right direction. When I say the right direction, I just mean the direction that the angler is going to facilitate line control. All right? The only bad part about this is that it's the shortest possible presentation from the boat to the shoreline, making it, well, the shortest possible presentation. Let's have scenario number 3. A 90-degree angle cast works. Works just fine. People on my boat are are definitely allowed to make 90-degree casts. Allowed is a strong word. All right, situation number 3. I cast it back here. I cast behind myself. Maybe that's a little too much. Cast behind myself. At an obtuse angle, right? Between 90 and 180 degrees. That's an obtuse angle. Well, now I'm here. 2 seconds go by. Trying to get this right. There is going to be some. The first one's here, even though it looks funny. Let me redraw this. That's not right. There we go. The second one's going to be here. That's not perfect. Just shut up and deal with it. The third one. Golly, I'm terrible with that. Third one's going to be over here. Fourth one, it's going to be over here. Okay. Oh, we got one more. Fifth one, or the sixth one rather. 6 seconds in, meaning it's going to be here. Okay. From the moment the fly hits the line, the shoreline, hits the water, the shoreline, whatever. From the moment the cast unrolls, lands on the water, it's being towed in the direction of the boat the whole time. Okay, I'm casting it back behind me at an obtuse angle, and the fly is being towed this way. Yes, then in all situations it's being towed out, but there's always an element of the fly's path that's the same direction as the boat. Okay? It's critical that you use the boat as retrieval assistance. When I'm closing the gap, the boat's ruining my retrieve. When I cast at an acute angle, which causes me to close this gap with the boat, it ruins the retrieve. When I cast at a 90, or preferably an obtuse angle, then I'm using the boat to set like a baseline of my retrieve at 1 foot per second, which isn't fast enough for cutties, but it puts the line in that I'm pulling it in the same direction. The tension is much more uniform because the fly is never going the opposite direction of the boat. It's always following the boat. The line has much more uniform tension going out. Also, the speed is under my control. If I want to move it faster than a foot a second, I can strip the fly, and every inch per second of speed I'm putting into it is going directly into the fly. There's no slack being put in. The boat is not allowing for there to be slack. Furthermore, if a fish touches the fly, it's going to be immediately transferred. That contact will be immediately transferred, if I'm holding the rod correctly, into my fingers. The instant he touches that fly, I'm going to feel it. And because the line's under much more uniform tension, I can quickly put a strip set into it and pierce the fly into his mouth before he can feel it. The instant he touches it, it's under tension. If I'm ready, bam, I can set the hook. Furthermore, if I cast the fly at an acute angle and continue to move the boat, this slack put into the system, as we've talked about earlier, previous episode, it's going to cause slack causes fly line to sink faster. So I can't lift the fly up out of the water unless I want to just in the cast and pick it up. But with the retrieve, I'm not going to pick the fly up until it begins to make the turn, until it gets more uniform tension. Doesn't need to be all the way in the direction, but as long as it's in the same direction, as long as it's going generally in the opposite direction, as long as there's a reverse element, the fly is going to continue to sink. Because you're casting it into really shallow water, it's going to end up on the bottom. So it's in the area that you don't want it on the bottom, right? You're really fishing the kitchen. That's where you're drawing all of your predation from. They may eat it out here, but 8, 9 times out of 10, they came from way in here. The second that fly hits the water, it's in play. Boom. Strip it, I'm tight to it, and I'll be tight to it every strip until I pick it up out of the water. I cannot tell you how important it is to maintain an obtuse angle in your casting when you're fishing from a boat in the Sound. If you want line control, you must cast, when I say an obtuse angle, every cast you make should be slightly behind yourself. What does that mean? You want all of your casts between 90 degrees to 120. You want every cast you make to be from 90 to 120 degrees when the boat, is going faster than the water. If the boat is faster than the water, you need to cast at an obtuse angle so that you can maintain line control through contact. Every time you cast, and I also want to say, I understand the desire to cast forward. You want to get the fresh water. It's no less fresh though. It's no better. You're gonna catch way, way more fish. It sounds weird if you always ensure that you're behind yourself. Now, last thing I want to clarify is I'm saying behind yourself because I'm specifically talking about the casting angle relative to the angler, not the boat. You know, the shoreline's here, I'm moving this direction, I'm trying to go parallel roughly to the shoreline, but there's a lot of times when the wind's blowing me this way so that my boat's actually oriented out here. And if I'm casting at 120 degrees relative to the boat, well, I'm still going to be firing it ahead of myself. So your casting angle should always be measured with you facing parallel to the boat, parallel to the shore, regardless of the boat's orientation. You want to always maintain that, regardless of what the boat's doing. If you maintain this casting angle, you're going to catch a lot more fish. if you deviate from this casting angle, you're going to hook a lot more fish. I mean, you're going to hook a fair amount of fish, but you're not going to, I mean, let me say, you're going to get a fair amount of grabs, maybe less for sure, because the fly is too deep in the water column. This allows them to be, okay, the fly is under tension. Tension creates lift. Remember, lift's going to pick it up. So it's going to be higher in the water column, allowing them to ambush it. Well, what if I feel like I'm too high? Then what do I do? Well, because I'm directly connected to it, I can release that tension by letting go of the line, lifting the rod, and chopping it back down, like we talked about in another episode. That's going to release the tension and allow me to sink it. I can let it sink until it achieves the depth I desire, and then I can reintroduce the tension. Can't do that here. Maintain line control, catch a lot of cutties. I'm out.